In recent years, with the rise of vacation rental platforms, countless travelers have discovered hidden gems and cozy homes around the world. But beneath the glossy photos and glowing reviews, there exist darker stories that shake the very idea of feeling safe in a stranger's home. And three such unnerving Airbnb horror stories stand out as chilling reminders that not every stay is as welcoming as advertised. Beginning with the story of a young woman named Clara, who booked a quaint farmhouse in rural France for a solo writing retreat. A place that looked idyllic online with its stone walls, rustic kitchen, and private garden. But upon arrival, she noticed subtle oddities, like extra locks on the inside of doors, strange scuff marks near the ceiling, as though something had been dragged across it, and an unsettling, musty smell that no amount of candles could mask. And her unease grew when she realized every room had small holes in the wooden walls. At first, she dismissed them as part of the aging structure until one night, while working at her desk, she caught the faintest flicker of light through one of the holes. And with growing dread, she pressed her ear against the wall and heard breathing, realizing in horror that someone was watching her from inside the crawl spaces. And when she confronted the host the next morning, he brushed it off with a cold smile, insisting the holes were for ventilation. Yet when she tried to leave, she discovered her rental car's tires had been slashed, forcing her to wait for roadside assistance and pack hurriedly. And when she finally escaped, she later learned from locals that the farmhouse had a disturbing history of squatters using the walls to spy on tenants, a fact never mentioned in the listing. And to this day, she cannot shake the feeling of unseen eyes studying her as she slept. The second story belongs to a couple, Jeremy and Alina, who traveled to California for a weekend getaway and rented a small beachside bungalow advertised as charming and private. Yet the moment they entered, they felt uncomfortable, noticing that the mirrors seemed oddly placed, especially one that hung low on the bedroom wall facing the bed. And though they tried to ignore it and settle in, Alina awoke in the middle of the night to faint clicking sounds, the kind made by electronics powering on and off. And when Jeremy investigated, he discovered that the mirror in the bedroom was actually a two-way glass, concealing a small camera setup behind it, complete with wires running to a hidden outlet in the closet. And though they quickly left the property and reported it to Airbnb, the host's account vanished days later, leaving them without closure. And while the company refunded their stay, no explanation or assurance was ever provided, leaving Jeremy and Alina to wrestle with the deeply unsettling knowledge that their private moments may have been recorded and watched by strangers. The third unnerving Airbnb story came from a group of college friends who rented a remote cabin in Canada for a winter break trip. Excited for snowboarding and hot cocoa nights, but from the start, the property felt wrong. The interior overly bare and cold, and the host's instructions unusually strict, forbidding them from opening the basement door or going into the attic. And on the second night, as they sat by the fireplace telling stories, they heard a muffled banging sound coming from below the floorboards, rhythmic and desperate, almost like fists pounding against wood, which immediately unsettled the group. And while some brushed it off as pipes or the building creaking in the cold, curiosity and fear gnawed at them until one of them, Mark, decided to check the locked basement door, only to find it bolted from the outside with heavy chains. And that night, the banging grew louder, followed by faint cries that sounded unmistakably human. And though terrified, they packed their things and drove away before sunrise, later reporting the incident to the police, who discovered evidence that someone had been living in the basement in dire conditions, though the details were never made public. And the host vanished from the platform almost immediately afterward, leaving the friends to forever wonder who had been beneath them and what fate they might have narrowly avoided by leaving when they did. These three stories, Clara's farmhouse with holes in the walls, Jeremy, and Alina's bungalow with its hidden camera behind the mirror, and the Canadian cabin with cries rising from the basement, are not simply creepy tales, but true accounts that strike at the heart of trust in the sharing economy, revealing that behind the glossy photos and well-crafted descriptions, there can exist deeply unsettling realities where safety and privacy are compromised. And the scariest part is not only what happened during the stays, but the unanswered questions that linger afterward. Who was watching from the walls? Who might have seen private moments through hidden lenses? And who was trapped in that basement crying for help? And while Airbnb continues to grow and countless guests experience safe and enjoyable travels, these unnerving accounts serve as reminders that sometimes what waits inside the rental is far more disturbing than any traveler could have anticipated, haunting them long after they close the door and check out.